So previous video we have seen that how to recognize the deadlock by making use of a graph. So in the graph, if there is a cycle, that means a deadlock may exist. So but that is a solution only for a single instance of a resource. So if you are going to have multiple instances of a resource, so that doesn't guarantee how you can find out the deadlock exists or not. So for that we are using the Banker's algorithm, so which is a deadlock avoidance method. So here this solution, Banker's algorithm, can provide you a solution even if you're having a multiple instance of a resource. So there are some basic requirement for this algorithm. Each process must have a prior information. So what information it needs is, whenever a process begins, it has to make a claim how many maximum number of resources it is going to use. So when a process requests any resource, if it is not currently available, it has to wait. So this thing we have to keep in mind. And when a process gets all its resources, it must return them in a finite amount of time. So that means it is not going to keep it for all the time. So it is just going to return after executing it within some finite amount of time. It has to release the resources. If it is holding on the resources for a long amount of time, so there are chances that other process which requires the same resources may stop for execution. Now we need some of a data structure for implementation of this algorithm. So now let assume we are having n, which is equal to number of process, and m are the number of resource types we are going to have. Now the first data structure what we are going to have here is available. So available is nothing but a vector. It's an array of length m, where if available of j is equal to k, there are k instances of resource type rj available. So that means the length m defines how many resource types are existing. So and similarly we may have a two-dimensional matrix max n cross m matrix. If max of I comma j is equal to k, then process pi may request at most k instance of resource type ri. So that means this is a two-dimensional matrix. So where we can know that how many maximum resource each process may request during its entire execution period, and even all the type of resources whatever it needs. So whatever types of resources it needs and how many maximum of them it can request. So all these can be information is collected even before the process starts execution. So similarly we have allocation matrix n cross m matrix. If allocated of I comma j is equal to k, it means that process I is currently allocated k instance of resource rj. So that means maximum matrix is saying how many maximum it may need. Allocation is matrix is saying that how many current resources of type rj is being allocated to a process pi. So like that, need is a matrix. So need says that need of I comma j is equal to k. That means that pi may need k more instance of resource rj to complete this task. So this is a need can be obtained by maximum minus allocation of I comma j. So that means maximum, suppose you take one particular resource, it has claim tape drive. So maximum is a declaration and allocation is a current allocation. Suppose if maximum requirement is 5, currently it is allocated 3. So it may need 2 more to complete its execution. So like here, suppose so if I am having tape drive, 6 tape drives I am having. If I am having 2 disks, if I am having 5 files, I can name that this may be a resource r1, this may be a resource r2, and this may be a resource r3. Now the available is saying that so resource type r1 is having maximum k instances of resources are available. Right now it is available with the operating system. So initially resources are not yet been allocated to any process. Likewise resource type r2, you are having 2 resources are available. Like that resource type r3, 5 resources are available. So this available is a single dimensional array. So at any moment of time it will give you how many free available resources are there available with the operating system. So likewise we can view the two-dimensional matrix. Okay, any matrix it may be max matrix, it may be a allocated matrix, okay, it may be a need matrix. Okay, now here you can list out the number of processes P0, P1 and P2. Here you can, the number of columns designate how many resource types you are having. Okay, I may have numbered R1, okay, so for tape drive, R2 for disk and R3 for files. Okay, now here max of I comma j. Okay, so I comma j, I is designating the indices here, j is designating the column. Okay, so max of I comma j is equal to 4. Okay, it means that process P0, okay, requires maximum of 4 resources of type R1. Okay, so process P0 requires, okay, so maximum of resource 1 of type R2. Okay, so like that process P0 requires maximum of resource, maximum 2 resource of type R3. Okay, so similarly we can see what are the requirements for P1. Okay, of P1 for resource R1, R2 and R3, requirements of P2 for resource type R1, R2 and R3. So this two-dimensional, okay, maximum requirements can be there. So similarly we will have, okay, allocation matrix, so which gives you the details of the resources which have been allocated, and the need matrix, so which is giving you the how many more resources a particular process is to require. Okay, if it is given, then it will finish the completion. Okay, now Banker's algorithm, okay, is actually having two algorithms. Okay, so one is safety algorithm and then you are having resource request algorithm. Okay, so safety algorithm, okay, is a basic algorithm. So Banker's algorithm is going to use the safety algorithm. Okay, now safety algorithm will be like this. Okay, so now it is, let work and finish be vectors of length m and n respectively. Okay, that means work and finish are single dimensional array of length m, of size m and n. Okay, now initially work is equal to available. Okay, initially work is equal to available, so that means that we are initializing work, okay, with a available vector. Okay, so available is nothing but saying how many free resources of different types are available with the operating system. Okay, then we are creating one more vector, okay, a finish vector. So now suppose if you are having 4 processes, the size of your vector finish will be 4. Okay, now finish of I is equal to false for I is equal to 1 to n. Okay, so if you are having resources, 4 resources, you may be taking 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, now all the finish of I will be initialized to false, because right now the execution have just now started, no process has yet finished. Okay, now second step of the safety algorithm, find an I such that, okay, both finish of I is equal to false and need of I is less than or equal to work. Okay, that means you have to find a process, okay, where finish of I is equal to false, okay, and need is less than or equal to work. Okay, so need is less than or equal to work means, so need, okay, you suppose if you are having P1, P2, P3, P4, okay, among that pick up a process, okay, whose finish of I is equal to false. So right initially all the process finish of I will be equal to false. Okay, now among them check any process whose need is less than or equal to work. That means that whose need is less than or equal to the freely available resources in the operating system right now. Okay, so think that among P1, P2, P3 and P4, okay, so P1 is requiring more resources, okay, that is not yet available right now. Okay, now for that purpose, now again go have a check on P2. Okay, so finish of 2 is also false. Okay, so now check what is the requirement. Okay, P2 is allocated some resources, it is needing some more. How we are getting need? By maximum minus allocated. Okay, now need is less than or equal to work. Okay, so now suppose here the requirement of P2, okay, which is needing lesser resources, okay, than available with the operating system or equal to the operating system, then there is a chance that, okay, if you are allocating the resources, okay, because it is freely available right now with the operating system, you are allocating those resources to the process P2, it may finish it. Okay, after finishing it, it is going to release it. Okay, so that is what we are going to do it. Okay, now we have obtained a process P2 whose need is less than or equal to work. Okay, now after executing, okay, then P2 finishes its execution. So when it has finished its execution, it is going to release all the resources whatever it is having. Okay, so now work is equal to work plus allocation. So work is equal to work plus allocation. So work was equal to available, okay, available plus newly allocated. Okay, so that was we were discussing in point 2. Initially in point 1, okay, initially in the point 1 what we did, work is equal to available, then whatever freely available resources are there, that is equal to work. Okay, now here we found that process P2, okay, so process P2 is requesting less number of resources, so we are allocating it. Okay, now process P2 is holding some resource and newly it is getting some more resources, that is nothing but your available resources. Okay, after executing, okay, then it is going to release all the resources. So now work becomes, okay, work plus allocation of I. Okay, so work plus allocation of I. Okay, so now that means you will work total number of resources will be more now, because the process P2 it was given the available resources and already whatever it was having, already whatever it was allocated, okay, so that also it released. Okay, now work becomes work plus allocation of I. Okay, now when process P2, okay, has finished its execution, so finish of I will be equal to true. Okay, now go to step 2. Okay, now among P1, P2, P3 and P4, P2 has finished its execution. Okay, and when it has finished its execution, it has already released the resources whatever it is already holding, okay, and whatever newly it was located. Okay, now the available resources are more with the operating system. Okay, now you can check, okay, which process P1, P3 and P4, okay, so for whom if you satisfy, okay, so now that will finish, okay, that can finish its execution. Okay, so now the similar way what we are doing, so we pick up a process where need will be equal to less than or equal to work, okay, then that particular process also finishes execution. Okay, so now again it will release all the resources. Now work will be equal to work plus allocated, so that means the operating system will have more available resources here, then finish of I will be equal to true for that step. Okay, so like this you go on continuing. Okay, so think that now P3's requirement was less, now P3 has finished its execution. Okay, go to step 2 again. Okay, now here now you are having P1 and P4. Okay, among P1 and P4 you can satisfy P1. Okay, so P1 will finish similarly P1 will finish and release all the resources. Okay, now that finish of P1 will also be equal to true. Okay, so like that you keep on going this. Okay, so until no resources are left. Okay, so until now when you finish off, okay, so when you finish all the resources, so finish of I will be equal to true. Okay, now when you are going here, if you are not finding any need is less than or equal to work, okay, so that means if any process need is not satisfied with the available resources, okay, so then, okay, you are going to, if no such I exists where you cannot satisfy the need the requirement with the available resources, you are going to step 4. Okay, now in the step 4 you are checking if finish of I is equal to true for all I. Okay, then system is in safe state. Otherwise, if any one process still exists whose finish of I is still false, so that means the system is not in a safe state. So this is how the safety algorithm will work. So this safety algorithm will be applied in the resource request algorithm for process PI. Okay, so this is again a part of your Banker's algorithms which uses safety algorithm and resource request algorithm. Okay, so now resource request algorithm is like this. Okay, now you have again defined few data structure here. Request is equal to request vector for process PI. Okay, now here if request of I of j is equal to k, then process PI wants k instance of resource type rj. Okay, so you're having a request vector of process PI. Okay, if request of I of j is equal to k, then process PI wants k instance of resource type rj. Okay, so you are having a single dimensional vector or array, okay, named request. Okay, so the size of this vector will be equal to the maximum number of resources available. Okay, now index of that particular vector will give you the resource type number. Okay, now if request of I, okay, for this also you can take it, okay, any simple vector like this. Okay, you can, instead of available, you are calling it as a request. Okay, so you have 1 2 3 as an index here. Okay, so request of I is equal to 6. That means it is saying that it may require, it is requesting for 6 instance of resource type tape drive. Okay, here if it is 2, it is requesting resource 2 is requesting for 2 instance of resource type 2. Here it is requesting, R3 is requesting 5 instances of resource type 3. Okay, so like this we can have a vector. Okay, so now if request is less than, request of I is less than or equal to need, go to step 2. Okay, otherwise raise error condition, because since the process has exceeded its maximum clip. Okay, now if it is requesting for more number of resources, need is always equal to maximum minus allocated. Okay, if it is requesting, so need means need will be already the process allocated some resources. Okay, so need is maximum, it has claimed something, it is allocated, need will be equal to maximum minus allocated. Okay, now if the request, whatever it is requesting, okay, should not be greater than need. Okay, so request is less than or equal to need, go to step 2. Otherwise you are raising that the process is exceeded its maximum clip. Okay, so if request of I is less than or equal to available. Okay, so if first step it is requesting less than or equal to need. Okay, how much it needs, so according to that it is requesting, it should be less than or equal to need. Okay, so second step, request is I, request of I is less than or equal to available. Okay, so go to step 3. Otherwise, so you are saying that PI must wait since the resources are not available. So this means that, okay, now the process may request is less than or equal to need, it says that, okay, it is requesting right now for some resources whatever it needs. Okay, so if that condition is true, you are coming to step 2. If it is not true, that means it is exceeding its maximum clip. Second step, the request is less than or equal to available. Okay, even though, okay, it is authorized to request, okay, less than or equal to need, but right now, okay, its request cannot be satisfied because the resources are not available with the operating system. Okay, then the particular process has to wait. Okay, if the request is available, okay, if it is requesting for some of our resources, if those resources are available with the operating system, then we are going to step 3. Okay, step 3, we are pretending to allocate requested resource to PI by modifying the state as follows. Okay, now we are actually not allocating it, we are pretending to allocate by changing the data structure. Okay, so that will be equal to, available will be equal to available minus request. This is not equal to, it is actually minus. Okay, available is equal to available minus request. Okay, now you have allocated the request is sanctioned, so you are going to allocate a resources to the particular process. So available becomes available minus request. Okay, now allocated becomes, you have allocation of I. Okay, allocation to the process PI will be allocation of I, already it was having, plus now whatever it has requested. Okay, so allocation matrix for PI has grown. Okay, available matrix with the operating system has reduced. Allocation of I plus request of I. Okay, now allocation matrix for a particular process has increased. Okay, now need will be equal to need of I minus request of I. So obviously right now it is requesting for something, it has been allocated matrix has grown. Now need of I will be need minus request. So it has requested for something, whatever allocated, again need will be equal to need minus request. So few more it may need in future. Okay, now after doing this, you run the safety algorithm. Okay, by whatever we have learned just now, you run the safety algorithm. So if it is entering into a safe state, so resources are allocated to PI. If it is leading to unsafe state, okay, so PI must wait and old resource allocation state is restored. You must have seen in database management system, DBMS system, when you were working out with SQL. So you had commit and roll back. Okay, if you roll back, so that means you're going to your previous state of whatever things you were doing. Okay, so similarly you also roll back if you run the safety algorithm. If you're not entering a safe state, then you roll back to the previous data structure of the whatever previous allocation structure was there. So you're rolling back to that particular point. So that means here we actually pretended, okay, and run the safety algorithm and check out whether if you are allocating, then it is going to lead to a safe state or not. Okay, so this is how you are going to work using a resource request algorithm. Okay, now here you are having a snapshot, okay, examples of a Banker's algorithm. Okay, so you are having 5 process P0 to through P4. Okay, so P0, P1, P2, P3 and P4. So 3 resource type A. Okay, resource type A is having maximum 10 instances, resource type B is having maximum 5 instances, and resource type C is having maximum 7 instances. Okay, so now here you can check that how it can be 10. Okay, always the allocation plus available should be equal to the number of resources available. Okay, so take example, allocation matrix is defining, okay, this is allocation matrix defining how many resources allocated to each process. So P0 is allocated 0 resources of type A, that means it's not having any right now, not holding any of resource type A. Okay, it is holding 1 resource of type B and not holding any resource of type C. Okay, likewise P1 is holding 2 resources of type A, not holding B and C, and P2 is holding 3 resources of type A, not holding B but holding 2 resources of type C. Okay, and P3 is having 2 resources of type A, 1 resource of type B, 1 resource of type C. P4 is holding no resource of type A, no resource of type B, but it is holding 2 resources of type C. Okay, but P0 has claim for 7 resource of type A, 5 resource of type B, 3 resource of type C. So that means this is a maximum claim. During the entire execution, it requires so many resources to execute. Similarly, P1 requires 3 to 2 resources of A, B and C during its execution. So here also 902. Okay, this is a maximum claim for A, B and C of process P2. Likewise, P3 also, it requires 2 of A, 2, B, 2, C type resources during its entire execution. So likewise P4 also 4, 3, 3, so many resources are required during its execution. Okay, now maximum is a prior information, it is a claiming for so many resources. At allocation state is saying how many current resources are allocated. Okay, now check here, 2 instance of resource type A is allocated to P1, 3 for P2, 2 for P3. Okay, so 2 plus 3 is 5, 5 plus 2 is 7. Okay, so 7 resources are distributed among P1, P2 and P3. So the leftover is 3, that is 10 minus of 3. Likewise, 1 resource, how many B resources are given to other process? 1 is held up by P0, another is held up by P3. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, so 2 resources are allocated between P0 and P3. Okay, so remaining is 3 here. So 5 minus 2 is 3. Likewise, here you can check. Okay, so resource type C is distributed between process P2, P3 and P4. So 2 plus 1 plus 2 will be 5. Okay, now 5 resources of type C, okay, 5 resources of type C are distributed among P2, P3 and P4. Okay, now remaining are 2. Okay, so 7 minus 5 is 2. So this is how you are going to have a data structure. Okay, so available max and allocation max and available. So need will be equal to what? So need is equal to maximum minus allocated. Okay, so now you have maximum in this. Okay, if you subtract the matrix max minus allocated, you will get the need matrix. Okay, so like suppose if I am subtracting 7 minus 0, I should get 7, 5 minus 1, 4, okay, 3 minus 0, 3. Okay, so this is a value what we get here. 7, 4 and 3. Okay, so this matrix we are getting it by subtracting maximum minus allocated. Okay, now here we run the system, the algorithm works like this. First we run the safety algorithm, pretend to allocate, change the data structure. Okay, and if it is leading to a safe state, then we actually allocate. If it is not leading to a safe state, we are actually going to roll back. Okay, now by this we have run the safety algorithm. Okay, and we have come up with a sequence P1, P3, P4, P2 and P0. If the request comes in this sequence, okay, in this sequence P1, P3, P4 and P2 and P0, then it satisfies the safety criteria. Okay, so you can ask me how exactly you have got the sequence. Okay, so how the sequence you have got, why only first P1, P3, P4 and P2 and P0. Okay, I have solved this problem, okay, in my OS assignment what you have given there. Okay, so where I one by one, step by step I've shown how the process of requesting and releasing resource. Okay, so finally when you finish off, okay, all the process is going to finish off, you have to end up with the available resources. Okay, so that in previous case 10, 5 and 7. Okay, so that I have solved there. I'll come up with one more video also there, so showing you how exactly we get the particular sequence. Okay, so likewise, okay, here you are asking, check the request is like at a particular instant of time. Okay, if the request from one particular process 102 is less than or equal to 33 comma 2. Okay, if it is true, so it here we are question is, okay, so now executing safety algorithm shows that, okay, so this particular sequence is satisfying the safety requirement. Okay, and further suppose can request for 332 by FIFO can be granted, can request for 02 comma 0 b by P0 can be granted. Okay, so here if you run that particular algorithm, okay, so what we have seen, so if it is leading to a safe sequence, then the request can be granted. If it is not leading to a safe sequence, so you are going to abort the request, you are not going to sanction the request. Okay, so that is how your Banker's algorithm is going to work. I'll show in one more video, okay, by solving the problem, showing how to get that particular safe sequence. The PDF of that safe sequence, okay, how to obtain the safe sequence is already given in the solutions for your OS assignment. Okay, so now we had seen that, okay, so deadlock prevention, okay, so deadlock avoidance, so that means there we are trying to avoid the deadlock. So see to that, okay, the deadlock never occurs. Okay, that was one measure for handling the deadlock. Okay, another measure was allow the deadlock to occur, okay, and then detect the deadlock and recover from the deadlock. Another measure was, okay, so let the deadlock occur, you ignore the deadlock, behave as if deadlock has not occurred. Okay, now we have seen how the deadlock prevention is done, how deadlock avoidance is done. Okay, so deadlock prevention, we see that basic characteristics, 4 characteristics. Okay, if you are breaking any one of a characteristics, deadlock will not occur. So deadlock avoidance, we have seen the how we are going to avoid a deadlock. Okay, so by seeing the graph algorithm, you can find out a deadlock. Okay, how to use a Banker's algorithm, how you are going to use a claim edge to check whether a request can be granted or not. If there is a cycle, okay, future you may be having deadlock. Okay, so those things will work out there. Then the second measure, detect the deadlock. Okay, allow system to enter a deadlock state. Okay, and then you run the detection algorithm. Okay, so after you detect a algorithm, after you detect a deadlock using some algorithm, then you try to recover from the deadlock state. Okay, now how do we do it for single instance of each resource type? Okay, now here what we are going to do to detect a deadlock, so first we make use of a wait for graph. We draw the wait for graph. I'll show you just now. Next slide we'll see what is wait for graph. Okay, now nodes whatever in your wait for graph are representing the process. Okay, and then you have a arc between the process Pi to Pj. So this is indicating that if Pi is waiting for Pj, okay, then you have an arc between Pi to Pj. Okay, now periodically you invoke the algorithm that searches for a cycle in the graph. Okay, and here if there is a cycle in this graph, so that means a deadlock has occurred in the system. So this is a detection algorithm what we can make out for single instance of resource using the wait for graph. Okay, but it requires so many operations. Okay, so to detect a cycle requires order of n square operation, where n is the number of vertices in the graph. So that means if you are having n number of process, it requires n square operations to so many operations have to be executed by your control unit and CPU to execute. Okay, so now here resource allocation graph is this. Okay, now you are deducing this resource allocation graph into a wait for graph. Okay, so resource allocation graph. Okay, so here it is showing P1 is requesting for R1, R1 is allocated to P2, P2 is requesting for R3, R3 is allocated to P5. Okay, now I'll just show you. Okay, so this one sequence. So P1 is requesting for R1, R1 is allocated to P2. Okay, so now here we are drawing, now there is a waiting. Okay, P1 is requesting for R1, R1 is allocated to P2. Okay, so indirectly you can say that P1 is waiting for P2. So we have drawn P1, okay, arc between P1 to P2. So here you can see this one. So P1 to PJ, Pi to PJ. Okay, so Pi is waiting for PJ. Okay, so that is what we are going to see it here. So Pi is waiting for P2 here. So P1 is requesting for R1, R1 is allocated to P2. So that means indirectly you can say that P1 is waiting for P2. Okay, now similarly P2 is requesting for R3, R3 is allocated to P5. So P2 is waiting for P5. So P2 is waiting for P5. Okay, so here P2 is requesting for R4, R4 is allocated to P3. So we have dependency between P2 and P3. Okay, so P2 and P3. So similarly we also have a dependency between P3 and P4. So you can see here P3 is requesting for R5, R5 is allocated to P4. So P3 to P4, you can have a dependency between P2 and P4. Okay, so P2 is requesting for R5, R5 is allocated to P4. So dependency also exists. Okay, so dependency also exists between P2 and P4. Okay, so similarly P4 is requesting for R4, R2, R2 is allocated to P1. So dependency exists between P4 and P1. Okay, so P4 and P1 we are showing. So that is how you have deduced the wait for graph from the resource allocation graph. Okay, now if there is a cycle existing in this case, okay, so there is a dependency between a group of processes which are there in the cycle, which is an indication that deadlock has occurred. Okay, now that will work out for single instance of a resource. Okay, so for several instances of resource time. Okay, so we have on the other algorithms. Okay, so you have again declare data structures for that. Available, allocation, request. Okay, so available, a vector of length m indicates the number of resources available in the operating system. Okay, allocation, n cross m matrix defines the number of resources of each type currently allocated to each process. Okay, so request, n cross m matrix indicates the current request of each process. Okay, if request of I is equal to k, then process Pi is requesting k more instance of resource type Rj. Okay, now we have a detection algorithm like this. Okay, so let work and finish be vectors, okay, of length m and n respectively. Okay, initialize work is equal to available. Okay, so whatever available resource with the operating system is there, that is assigned. Okay, work will be equal to that available vector. Okay, for I is equal to 1 to n, if allocation of I is not equal to 0, then finish of I is equal to false. Okay, so that means if there is no resources being allocated to a particular process, then the process is not yet finished. Okay, otherwise finish of I will be equal to true. Okay, for an index I such that finish of I should be equal to false and request of I is less than equal to work. Okay, it is requesting for a resources which is less than or equal to the available resources. If no such I exists, go to step 4. Okay, now if Okay, if you have a process where finish of I is equal to false and request is less than equal to work, then you are going to step 3. Otherwise, we will go to step 4. Okay, so step 3, work is equal to work plus allocation of I, finish of I is equal to true. So that means there we have request is less than or equal to available, there request is less than equal to work, that is request is less than equal to available. So that means we are allocating resources to the process. The process, after taking the resources, executed and release all the resources whatever it was having. Okay, so that will be work plus allocation of I. So work vector will increase in size now. Okay, increase in number. Now once the process is finished, finish of I is equal to true. Okay, now go to step 2. So the same process is going to be repeatedly going done. Okay, so now after that, okay, in the step 2, if you are not finding no such I exists, it is going to step 4. So when you come here, if finish of I is equal to false even for some particular process, so the system is in a deadlock state. That means some of a process which may be not completed, then the system, okay, may be in the deadlock state. Okay, so that you have found out there are, okay, whichever process finish of I is equal to false, those set of process will be actually there in the deadlock. Okay, so this algorithm requires an order of O, okay, asymptotic notation m into n square operations to detect whether the system is a deadlock state. Okay, now third is deadlock detection and recovery. Okay, so now here same example what we have seen, 5 process P0 to P4 are there, 7 instance of A, 2 instance of B and 6 instance of C are there. Okay, now we have seen, okay, so when a sequence, this particular sequence, if you run a safety algorithm, will result in a finish of I is equal to true for all I. Okay, if any other so if it is in safe sequence, it is not in a deadlock state. Okay, so now here also we are checking out if additional resource is requested by P2, whether you can satisfy or not, whether it is in safe state or not. So this kind of problem also will be coming off. Okay, so that I will show in another video. So one problem I will show you how you are getting a safe sequence. Okay, then you can decide whether the request can be granted or not. Okay, so that for that I will make a separate video and show you. Okay, now here we were telling, okay, the second criteria, detection of a deadlock and recovery from it. Okay, so first you have to detect a deadlock. Okay, after you have detected a deadlock, then you have to recover from it. Okay, now when you run a detection algorithm, okay, how often the algorithm has to be run, okay, when and how you have to invoke the algorithm, how often it is likely to occur, how many processes will need to be rolled back, one for each disjoint cycle. Okay, if you detect it again, okay, you have to roll back to a previous state wherever deadlock has occurred. Okay, so if detection algorithm is invoked arbitrarily, okay, so there may be many cycles in a graph, so we will not be able to tell which of many deadlock process caused a deadlock. Okay, so you have to carefully decide if frequently if you are going to invoke it, sometimes it may show a cycle. Okay, a cycle always, okay, if you are having multiple instances of resource, multiple cycles, okay, is not necessarily indication of a deadlock to occur. Okay, now here, so very frequently you should not be invoked. Okay, so if a deadlock has occurred, you have to roll back to a previous state. Okay, now there are two methods using which we are going to recover from deadlock. Okay, so we have found out, okay, using a wait for graph, okay, or using the deadlock detection algorithm. Okay, so wait for graph is used for single instance of resource to detect a deadlock. Okay, so you also have a for multiple instance you are using a deadlock detection algorithm. Okay, now when you detected a deadlock, okay, you know which are the process which are involved in a deadlock. Okay, obviously the process which are there in a cycle, okay, are the process which are into a deadlock. Okay, now how do you recover from it? Okay, how do you recover from it? Okay, so there are two methods using which, okay, you are going to recover from deadlock. So one method is called as process termination. Okay, you terminate the process whichever are involved in a deadlock. Another is called as a resource preemption. Okay, you anyway you know that the process are there in a deadlock, it is not executing. Okay, so you preempt the resources, remove the resources, snatch the resources from those processes which are there in a deadlock. Okay, then at least, okay, one by one, if you start snatching from one process, those resources can be given to some other process. When they finish, they'll release it. Okay, so deadlock cycle can be broken in that fashion. Okay, so process termination. Okay, so what methodology, what protocol you use to terminate the process? About all the deadlock process, whichever process are involved in the deadlock, kill all of them. Okay, that's one method. Okay. Another method, abort one process at a time until a deadlock cycle is eliminated. Okay, if there are 4 processes which are involved in a deadlock, okay, then one by one you start killing and see to that, okay, after that process is killed, obviously all the resources will be given back to the operating system, others can use. Okay, one by one you do it, okay, so that the cycle is broken. Okay, so now you have the other questions coming in. Okay, which order should we choose to abort? Okay, if I am deciding that, okay, one process at a time, who should be a victim, which process should be picked up? Okay, so depends. Okay, how do you define it? Okay, how do you go about, okay, killing one by one? Okay, who should be first, who should be second? Okay, selecting a victim is is also important. Okay, so here you have to decide, okay, how would we go about? Okay, so priority of a process. Okay, so make a process which is having a lesser priority, let be a victim. Okay, because higher priority process means we are giving higher priority because it's very important. Okay, so now that's one criteria. Okay, another criteria, how long process is computed, how much longer to completion. This also will add on. Okay, if a process is almost finished its execution, okay, if you are terminating that particular process, again even you restart it, it will again take up so much of time, CPU time for completion. Okay, so this also you have to, and how much more time it needs, that also counts. Okay, so this also you have to keep in mind. And then resources the process has used. Okay, so some resources may be costlier. Okay, so the time, so now again if you terminate that process, again it may require the same resources, so that also you have to keep in mind. Okay, so resources process needs to complete. Okay, now you have to think that, okay, whether if you terminate a process, or whether there are simple resources it is requiring. Okay, if you decide that if you don't terminate immediately, those resources are available, it will take and execute it off, so don't terminate that process. How many processes will need to be terminated? Okay, you have to also decide how many processes are left over. Okay, there, in which don't terminate all of them, but you have to make a count that how many of them have to be terminated. Okay, now, and one more thing is whether the process is interactive or batch process. Okay, that's also count a lot. Okay, now when you are terminating, you have to decide whether the interactive process has to be terminated or whether a batch process has to be terminated. Okay, so this is one method, using the process termination we recover from deadlock. Okay, another one is resource preemption. Okay, so resource preemption means you are not killing the process, you are snatching the resources from the process. Okay, so now to whom, from which process you have to remove the resources. Okay, who becomes a victim. Okay, so you see to that when you want to select a victim, snatching of resources should minimize the cost. Okay, again it should not be a burden for you. If you remove it again, you give it need to be again started. Okay, so it has to require a minimum cost. Okay, so that is one resource preemption. And rollback, return to some safe state, restart process for that state. Okay, so as we said in the previous resource request algorithm, okay, we pretend to lock it, and then if it is not leading to safe state, you're rolling it back, like how you will have a command commit and roll back in DBMS. Same way you roll back to some safe state. Okay, so that the cycle is broken there. Then starvation, same process. Okay, always if you make it as a victim, that process, okay, in include number of rollbacks in a cost factor. Okay, so how many times if you select the same victim, okay, and it will never get a chance for execution. So this also you have to keep in mind. Okay, these are two methods, process termination and resource preemption, through which you recover from deadlock. Okay, so here we are ending our chapter. Okay, so which is the first chapter. So I'll just come up with one video, okay, solving for a safe sequence. Okay, and this completes one chapter. So one more chapter is there to complete the module